Hey there, church. Coming to you tonight with a devotion for Holy Week. I'm going to be talking out of John chapter 13. And a couple things I want to highlight before we really get into the meat of what I think is some of the most important things that Jesus handles in this chapter. I did want to point out there's a couple things that come before that he, it seemed to be important to him. So it says in John chapter 13, the end of verse 1, that Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart out of this world to the Father, having loved his own who were in the world. He loved them to the end. So it makes a point to say that he loved his disciples all the way to the end. There wasn't a day or a time that he didn't love them. And I think that even extends out to the world, as we know in John 3:16, that God so loved the world that he gave his only son. And we keep going. During supper, when the devil had already put it into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands. And I think that's important because this whole thing wasn't a surprise to Jesus. He knew what was coming. He knew what was going to have to do. And God had even given him the power to basically say, I don't need to do this. But he knew he needed to do it. He knew what was coming, the cup that was coming that he was going to have to bear. This painful and agonizing situation on the cross for our sins. And it goes into the meat of what I want to talk about. And it says, and that he had come from God and was going back to God. And he rose from supper. He laid aside his outer garments, and taking a towel, tied it around his waist. And then he poured water in a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with a towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, Lord, do you wash my feet? And Jesus answered him, What I am doing you do not understand now, but afterward you will understand. And Peter said to him, You shall never wash my feet. Jesus answered him, If I do not wash you, you have no share with me. And Simon Peter said to him, Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head. And Jesus said to him, The one who is bathed does not need to wash except for his feet, but is completely clean. And you are clean, but not every one of you. For he knew who was to betray him, and that was why he said, Not all of you are clean. And I think the part that sticks out the most to me in that passage right there is what he was saying to Peter. He said, Peter said, Lord, do you wash my feet? And Jesus answered him, What I'm doing you do not understand now, but afterward you will understand. And what Jesus was saying is, this is all going to make sense in just a little while, because this washing of your feet is just a picture. It's an allegory of what I'm about to do on the cross to clean you permanently from your sin. And then we skip down to verse 31, which is where I think the most important part of this message comes in. And this is why Jesus was washing their feet. It says, when he had gone out, Jesus said, Now is the Son of Man glorified, and God is glorified in him. If God is glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself, and glorify him at once. Little children, yet a little while I am with you. You will seek me, and just as I said to the Jews, so now I say to you, Where I'm going you cannot come. A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another, just as I have loved you. You also are to love one another. By all this, people will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another. And Jesus tells them, where I'm going, you cannot come. This cross that I'm to bear, you can't come with me. It's only my job to do that. But more importantly, I give you this new command that you should love each other. And I think that's the most important part of what he was trying to convey to them. He had this whole thing under control. And right after they make that statement, it's written, the statement that he had all things were given unto him, they start going into this detail about loving each other, loving one another. And I think that just shows the importance of that, especially in a time like we're dealing with right now. I think that in such a time like this, when we're in such chaos, we have an immense opportunity to show love. As Christians during this Holy Week, let's remember that we can need, even if we can't come together physically, that we can still spread the good news of salvation in Jesus Christ. And I think what people need more than anything right now, more than physical needs met, more than money, more than groceries, more than any of those things, is I think that they need someone to talk to. If there's anything that this has shown us, it's that we as people are not meant to be in isolation. Like, we are meant to be a social being. And so my encouragement for you this week, as you dwell on that devotion, is that you think about those around you. Maybe there's somebody that you haven't talked to in a while that's going through this, and maybe it's time for you to reach out to them, make a phone call, shoot a text, maybe do a Zoom chat, Google Hangout, FaceTime, whatever you choose. But think about those around you and show God's love to those around you.